Oh, say can you see?
We begin tonight with big news that the U.S. Justice Department has announced it is launching a federal investigation into the murder of Dr. George Tiller, an abortion provider in Kansas who was vilified and harassed and attacked for years by the anti-abortion movement before he was finally shot dead inside his church this past Sunday. The suspect in custody is an anti-abortion activist named Scott Roeder. As yet, Mr. Roeder is the only person facing charges in Dr. Tiller's murder. But today's announcement from the acting Assistant Attorney General for the Civil Rights Division of the Justice Department indicates that the government is not assuming that the killer in this case acted alone. Quote, "The Department of Justice will work tirelessly to determine the full involvement of any and all actors in this horrible crime and to ensure that anyone who played a role in the offense is prosecuted to the full extent of federal law." The Justice Department also announced that they have reconvened the task force on violence against reproductive health care providers. This is important. This is the FBI and the Marshal Service and the ATF and other law enforcement agencies. It's a task force that was first formed during the Clinton administration in recognition of the fact that the multiple murders and attempted murders of abortion providers, the bombings of clinics, the harassment, the threats, these were not isolated incidents. They were the products of a militant anti-abortion movement. A homegrown American movement that proclaimed that abortion was equivalent to murder, that it was therefore justifiable, even honorable, to use violence to stop it. A movement that ultimately embraced terrorism, terrorizing tactics to make abortion services too dangerous for doctors to provide and thereby too difficult for women to seek. Never mind that those services were still technically legal. This week, since Scott Roeder has been in custody for Dr. Tiller's murder, we have detailed on this show how some individual anti-abortion militants have praised Mr. Roeder as a hero. But even as individual activists and websites have publicly celebrated this murder and have made a hero out of the murder suspect, the organizations that make up the right flank of the anti-abortion movement, they've tried to distance themselves from this crime. Operation Rescue, the militant organization that blockaded Dr. Tiller's clinic, that ran Tiller Watch on their website, they initially denied having anything to do with the suspect in Dr. Tiller's murder, and they released a statement condemning the murder. That, however, was before an ex-con former clinic bomber on their staff admitted to having multiple conversations with Mr. Roeder about Dr. Tiller in the months leading up to Dr. Tiller's murder. Her Operation Rescue phone number was found in Mr. Roeder's car when he was arrested. Operation Rescue's statement condemning Tiller's murder was echoed by another anti-abortion group this week, a group called the American Life League. They put out a statement on the day of the assassination saying, quote, "Today's actions were tragic and serve as another reminder that all human life is sacred." They also said that they extended prayers to the Tiller family, which is nice. Then today, we learned that that same group, the American Life League, has decided to go ahead with plans tomorrow, the day of Dr. George Tiller's funeral, to send activists out to abortion providers across the country tomorrow bearing these signs. "The pill kills." They're calling it Protest the Pill Day 2009, the day of George Tiller's funeral. They're going to be holding up these signs at abortion providers. The message here is, of course, that birth control pills are harmful and that women who use birth control pills are murderers. They're killing unborn babies. The message is that using birth control pills is tantamount to having an abortion. Information at the organization's website warns women against using, quote, "chemicals, hormones, and sex education as an answer to their problems with the natural consequences of abuse of sex." The group goes on to inform women who might use birth control that, quote, "they will be mothers of dead babies. The hormones, chemicals, and sharp intrauterine devices will starve and kill in the secret warmth of their sterilized wombs." The message is even more direct on the group's Facebook group page. It reads, quote, "If the pill prevents a developing baby from implanting in the lining of the uterus, a life has been killed." Life has been killed. So if you use birth control, you're committing murder. That's the blunt message. That's what the word kills is all about in the sign, right? that anti-abortion demonstrators would be wielding tomorrow at facilities where abortions are performed across the country at exactly the same time as friends and family of Dr. George Tiller will be mourning his murder, allegedly at the hands of an anti-abortion activist who witnesses say used the phrase baby killer while gluing shut the locks of another Kansas clinic the day before he allegedly shot Dr. Tiller dead. We called the American Life League today to ask them if they considered postponing the event out of respect for Dr. Tiller's funeral. They told us that the event had been in the works for a long time and that it would be almost impossible to postpone it. The protest is, in fact, pegged to the anniversary of a Supreme Court decision about birth control. It's called Griswold v. Connecticut. I should note, though, that that decision was actually handed down on June 7th, which means that the real anniversary would be Sunday. But they're not doing their event on Sunday. They're doing it on Saturday, on the day of Dr. Tiller's funeral.